Moving forward to our third panel, Independent Aging by Design. As aspirations around aging evolve, so must the way we design our living environment. From at-home care to assisted living and community-based senior housing, this panel explores how we can enable independence, safety, and dignity by design. This panel will be chaired by Pooja Beraya, Principal Correspondent, The Week. She's back in the moderator seat again, so clearly she's not had enough of us yet. So hi, Pooja, please be seated.
Welcome back, Pooja. Joining her is Rahul Sabarwal, co-founder of Vedanta Senior Living, working to build community-driven retirement ecosystems that enhance seniors' quality of life. Requesting Mr. Sabarwal to please join us on stage. Next up, we have Mr. Amit Paranspe, Director at Paranspe Schemes Construction, bringing extensive experience in real estate development and senior-friendly housing communities. Could you please join us on stage, sir? I'd now like to invite Prasad Bhide, founder and CEO of RG Care, to please join us on stage. A social entrepreneur, he has pioneered Mumbai's first professional home healthcare service for senior citizens, focusing on dignity-driven care across assisted living, home care, caregiver training, and geriatric counseling. It's a pleasure to have you join our panel, sir. Our final panelist is Dr. Manasa Nair, a neurophysiotherapist and founding member of the Wisdom Club, working on integrated assisted living and home care models for the urban elder care. Please join us in welcoming our panelists with a warm round of applause. Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you, Kashmi. Thank you, Nitin. Very good day to all, and a warm welcome to our panelists. Thank you for joining us. Our theme for discussion today is Independent Aging by Design, Integrating Home Care, Assisted Living, and Senior Housing. The context here is how do we build independent systems where seniors can live independently, yet never feel unsupported. That is the theme on which we are going to be speaking today. So let us begin with you, sir. Right. One second. My question to you would be, Vedanta offers senior living options ranging from large townships to micro communities. How do you ensure that they stay socially active and engaged through recreational activities?
So, good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Essentially, the interaction for seniors plays a very, very important part. Right. Now, how do you start with interaction when you design the community around multiple areas in a community where there are times that they can interact. For example, the area that they come in for meals every day, or social gathering spaces, or areas where afternoon walks can be done or evening walks can be done. So that's one. Then so that's the physical part of it. The second part of it is the where you keep everybody engaged. So what activities that are designed on a daily basis to engage seniors, that means you have a yoga session, you have a session where some talk is happening, there's a social club, there is a recreation club and all that. So that keeps the second engagement piece. And the third thing is ownership. So in any community, for it to be successful, you need people to take ownership. For example, what we do, food is something that is very passionate. Everybody is very passionate about food in a community. Now, and so we don't decide the menu. Our chefs will work with the seniors. There's a committee of seniors who will take care of food. There's a committee of seniors who will take care of gardening. There's a committee of seniors who look at educating the staff, because most of the staff that we have in the communities are uneducated people. They are there. So there are seniors who take the responsibility of educating the staff and ensuring that everybody gets engaged. So it's basically keeping everybody engaged at different levels, whether it is physically, emotionally, mentally active, and mentally engaged with the community. That helps promote, the lifestyle.
Thank you. And sir, you were the first, I think, among the first to introduce senior living communities in India. What were the key challenges in bringing this concept to life?
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me at this panel. I think the biggest change was the mindset which was required, and that was the challenge as well. People back then thought, was it old age home in disguise? That was the biggest challenge. So I remember my father and a very small team of sales guys actually selling the first 50 units directly. The second problem was to tell the families because it was more of a family driven decision. And third, people were not aware of whether the healthcare system would be integrated in it. So I think those were the three challenges that we felt. That was back in 2001. We are celebrating 25 years this year. So that was a long time ago, yeah.
And did the perceptions change over the years regarding these
I think
communities?
the perception has changed with a sustained effort, obviously. Second, I think out of need, because families have become nuclear and the need has come for them to actually move into senior living. So I think every change starts with a need. So I think that is what has changed today. And the families have become more independent. I mean, the senior citizens have become more independent financially. Most of the sales happening today or buying into the senior living homes is not dependent on selling their existing house. They have enough financial reserves to plan that move.
Right, thank you. Moving on to you, sir. RG Care offers a range of services and support systems from home care to dementia support. So how do you help families navigate these while ensuring the seniors live comfortably and safely?
Good afternoon all. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Goodfollow, for organizing this wonderful event. I think we have to look at it in two parts. One is understanding the needs and then actually delivering the care, right? So first part, whenever someone reaches to RG Care, is doing the need assessment, understanding the needs. Few times family knows what they want, especially in case of post-operative care. They come to us asking for a caregiver. That time they are very clear about what they want. But many a times, conditions like dementia, palliative care, Parkinson, family is not sure what is the best option for them, right? So that time we have to do a lot of assessments with them. So we have a team of psychologists who go at elders' home, talk to the family, talk to the elder, and help them take decisions. And that decision is taken typically based on a lot of aspects. We have to look at their emotional needs, financial constraint, what family wants, what elder wants, and we have to come up to a decision. That can be at home care, that can be a counseling, that can be an assisted living. So I think doing that need assessment plays an important role. We also have to look at medically. So we have team of doctors, nurses, and psychologists who help the family to make a right decision. So need assessment plays an important role. Once they decide to take a particular service, whether it is at home or whether it is in the assisted living, our team of doctors, psychologists, nurses, they work on care goal planning. So we create a care goals for them based on their medical assessment, based on their psychological assessment. We design a care goal for them, and that is communicated to entire team who works with us. And after that, we have to work with the elders. We have to create a plan for them. We have to create a schedule because elders love to have a fixed schedule, right? They don't want changes. So we create a schedule for them. And we have to look at nutrition part. We have to look at their engagements, where, like sir said, we have to involve yoga sessions, activity sessions. So we work with them to create a schedule for them. And whether it is at home care or whether it is in the assisted living centers, our caregiving is completely SOP driven, right? So we emphasize a lot on training of our caregivers, and it has to be SOP driven. So we have inculcated those SOPs whether it is in center or at home. And safety plays an important role in assisted living, especially when you work with people like dementia. So we provide lot of importance on designing and communicating those safety aspects to the family. So that's how we take care of elderly when they comes to us, whether it is in home care or at assisted living centers.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Over to you, Dr. Manasa. So in the assisted living model, you've been working with the Wisdom Club. And how are these spaces designed to balance safety, mobility, and infrastructure so that seniors can stay active? That is very important. Yeah.
Correct. So basically, you know, in an assisted living space, you need to look at two things. There has to be safety, that's the priority, but there also has to be autonomy. They still have to be able to go about with their day-to-day things independently without feeling like it's being done to them, right? But at the same time, you have to make sure that it's safe enough for them. We don't want them to have falls, we don't want them to have injuries. So basically, designing a space should not come as an afterthought. It has to be a pre-planned process. It has to be part of your design structure. You know, when you're having a child, you baby-proof the house, right? You plan for it. But we don't tend to do that for our older adults or people in our family who are aging. We only wait for an incident to happen, and that's when we retrospectively think, oh, I maybe should have moved this rug out of the way. Very simple things like that. So at the Wisdom Club, what we do is we make sure that our spaces, they help enable and empower the older adults to do their day-to-day activities without compromising safety. So whether it's in terms of grab bars in heavy traffic areas, moving out loose furniture, having adequate lighting, having anti-skid flooring, and you know, as times progress, we have to incorporate technology as well to support us. So there's so much coming up. There's so many people coming up with new innovation, new devices, which also works on the preventive front, not in a reactive front. There are wearable devices. There are devices you can put up on your, you know, on your structures that can probably sense before a fall is going to happen. So I think that's where it has to move. Besides that, we also, you know, focus on accessibility to come out in a community setting. So our common spaces should always be very accessible, inviting, and we look at different people with different capabilities, right? And it should cater that entire range of capability. People with dementia, you know, these patterns you see on the carpet, they're very confusing for them. We have to make sure that design and aesthetics go along with function. So I think it's a very simple things. It's not anything major. It's just enabling them and empowering them to continue with their activities. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very important points all of you made. Let me come back to you, Mr. Sabharwal, about senior living. You know, how do developers better communicate the value propositions so that, you know, it doesn't just come across as cost, but as an investment in quality of life and independence?
So there are a couple of factors that you look at. Number one, you look at the independence. When people are moving to senior living, if you look at it as the old paradigm of old age home, today most I would say 99% of customers that we see are moving on their own will. And they're not moving because they don't have a place to stay. They already have a great house to stay in. They are probably moving because for the services that are coming with this. So what a senior living community does is get you know, the multiple the real estate, the hospitality, the engagement, and most importantly the social balance together for seniors. So today, if somebody is living with their families, the time that anybody has to spend with the seniors is very, very limited. Not seniors, anybody living in the house, because social interaction between their own lives, between doing things that they want to do, between children, so on and so forth, is all very difficult. Now, I hear this a lot, where a lot of people say, I live with my son or daughter, but all I get is 5 minutes in a day. On the other hand, when they move to a community, a Saturday or a Sunday becomes the full day, where the son or the daughter come and spend the full day. That is far more productive than that 5 minutes, and then you're wanting for the time. Number two is dignity. I think as seniors who are now getting into homes, the 65, 70 plus, everybody wants to live in a life where they have lived a very independent life. Anybody who's lived a life, and most seniors, golden ages as we call them, have lived a life of dignity. So when you're in your own house, where everything is taken care of, it is a very, very dignified existence, and it has relevance that you are creating for yourself. Third thing, I think, is peace of mind, both for the senior as well as the family. Whether if a parent is living alone, the fear is that, is the parent taken care of, is suddenly the blood sugar has gone down, or BP has gone high, or whatever, or has had a fall. How do you manage that? But when you move to a community, all of this is designed, and it is all taken care within the community, so that these important factors are taken care, and everybody lives a very comfortable and very holistic life. We believe that moving into a community makes probably increases lifespan by at least 10%. So at least 3 to 4, 5 years more. Not because of, so two important factors. One, the food, or the kind of healthcare that is taken care. The food is taken care. So if somebody is living by themselves, you always tend to not cook for yourself. You will say, what is the easiest thing to do today? Just make egg and eat. Here it's a holistic meal that you get to eat. Number two, you are medically looked after very well. And most importantly, the social interaction that happens between people of your own age group, that makes a very, very big difference. So there's happiness, there is, we see people, who've probably worked for 50, 60 years, suddenly like singing. And there's a social club of singing. We did this experiment a year and a half back in a city where we had 3 communities. We said we'll do a antakshni between the 3 communities, and we thought nobody is going to come. But you'll be surprised that it's now become a institutionalized affair, that every 6 months we have, in each city we have people wanting to sing, debate clubs. We started Olympics. It is actually the sportsman spirit comes out. It's everything is around how it is managed, but it is there. So you see that.
Right. So living with dignity is the key word right there. Right. Mr. Raman, let me begin by asking you: do you think senior living in India is still driven by need rather than aspiration? And what will it take for retirement communities to become a lifestyle choice rather than a last resort?
I think it's still driven by need. That's the reality today. And I think most of that is because it is a trigger decision. So either they have lost their spouse, or there is a health issue, or the kids have moved, and now that's a necessity. And it's still driven by health, healthcare kaisa hai, that kind of a scenario. It will become aspirational when, again, as he described, that it has to be community driven. Then it will actually become aspirational for them. We will have to look at models where in the US there are golf communities where people, at some point of time move in there. And that's a choice that will happen at the age of 60 and not at the age of 75, because they get those 15, 20 years to actually live that kind of a lifestyle. And I think even the models are changing today. For example, the need for the 2-bedroom today, the requirement of the 2nd bedroom is completely different. You might think, you would have their kids coming over, but it's actually for both of them to sleep separately. Most of them say that because I can't bear the snoring anymore, and that's why I need the second bedroom. So like the decisions for houses, how that kind of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom configurations is different.
Out of need. That's where the need comes. I think.
Yeah, but see, we will have to build in the aspiration. It will have to be ingrained, saying that this is what you require. In US, there is a term called active adult communities, which is a step before independent senior living, where people move in at 55 itself. So maybe we should strive for that kind of a model. But I think we did a small podcast recently for our 25-year celebration and with Athashri. And I think the single takeaway, I was the host and I had 3 or 4, Padma Shri staying with us. So we sort of did their podcast. And they said that secretly, all of us are wondering, the old people are doing work for old people today. When will people aged 25 to 35 start contributing to that? And if they do that, then it's only there is a longevity to senior living in that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, very true. Mr. Pire, tell me about families who often struggle to find well-trained caregivers. How is RG Care addressing this particular challenge, and what steps are needed to make sure there is skilled caregiving workforce? They are also trained into this, because that is very crucial, I think.
Yeah. So I think Ajicare will be one of the pioneer in Mumbai, at least when it comes to caregiver training. I realized this need during my mother's hospitalization, that we don't really have trained caregivers, right? This job is typically done by Aya Maushis or a maid who is working at home, and nobody's training them. Yeah. So we started training in 2012. We developed a program for training of these caregivers on elder care, on nursing care, communication.
Yeah.
And that is something I have been talking for last more than a decade, that we need to give importance to caregiving, professional caregivers as well as family caregivers. There's a lot of work when you take care of an elder, you need an army to take care of that person, right? And you want to make sure that you are giving them required skill, you are training them enough on caregiving. I think in last 10 years we have seen the scene has changed. Now I see there are a lot of training institute who are working in, they call it the GDA, geriatric general duty assistant, right? But after that also we feel that they are not really trained on elder care. They get the training of nursing. I think what is lagging is training them on how to work with elders, how to build an empathy, patience. I think that is something is lagging. But I think the change is good. I think at least now we see a lot of training institutes who are training on caregiving. Recently, I think government has launched a plan to train 1.3 lakh geriatric caregivers, which is a really good move. One of the recent surveys told us that there is a lack of at least 43 lakh to 45 lakh caregivers are needed in professional caregivers, and we hardly have very few available. So I think the way things will change, I think if we give dignity to this work, right? Unless and until families start respecting and giving that dignity to it, you will not see good people coming to the caregiver thing, right? And you ask me how do we change this? I think I strongly feel that like you have a nursing council, there is a need for having council for caregivers. And that will happen only because what happens currently, even if you are trained, when you go at work with the family is currently not asking for do you have a certificate? Nobody is asking for that, right? So even if there is a government certificate, there is no recognition for that. The recognition is not there because there is no body monitoring them, right? So I think we need a body like a nursing council who will monitor caregivers, and I think insurance can play a major role. Right? Insurance. Currently, the caregiving, whatever you require, is not covered under any insurance. If insurance starts covering caregiving at home, at least for certain medical conditions, and they will be insured only if you are taking from a certified caregivers, I think it can be a game changer. So if you want to build a large caregiving workforce, because we are moving from 10% to 20% elderly population, you are going to need large workforce of caregivers, and that will only happen if we give recognition, if we create a council to recognize that and bring insurance into the play. I think that can really create a large workforce.
So a dedicated body regarding this is the need of the hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Right. Dr. Manasa, we will talk from a neurorehabilitation perspective now. How important is it to create a continuum of care across home care, assisted living, and senior housing as well? And how can integration with senior living real estate help support independence for seniors themselves?
Thank you for the question. Right now, we see care for our older adults is very much fragmented, right? You have to go to 5 different places for different needs. And majority of the older adults right now are aging in place. That means that they're aging at their homes. And as they age, there are certain incidents or events to happen. At that point, you first go to the hospital, then you come back home, you look for a caregiver, a nurse, a physiotherapist. Whether that works, it doesn't work. You look at assisted living, you think either I want to continue there or either I want to come back. But this is a very ad hoc, as and when needed, fragmented, it's not organized, right? Right now, we were just discussing before, is that people in the elder care industry need to be full stack. That means that they should be able to take care of the needs of older adults through the entire life cycle. Right from younger old people, where there is a sense of, purpose that they need to build again, there's community, there's loneliness, looking at those aspects. As you move across the cycle, you want to look at a little more of the health-related aspects that happen. So community, senior living, where there's already a preventive medical care team available. The space is designed for you and to enable you and to empower you. And as you move down the spectrum, if there is a need for a higher touch care or greater need of care, you can move into an assisted living where you continue to live with dignity, you continue to maintain your quality of life. You're not, see, at the moment, basically, even if you age at home, you're mostly with a caregiver in a room, probably just going out to the dining room and back, right? So you want to continue to maintain that quality of life. And eventually, if there is palliative care, end-of-life care, this has to be the entire spectrum and the continuum where you look at needs of older adults at each stage. So it has to be collaborative. It has to be people coming together, building these end-to-end. I don't think any of us can work in silos. We can't work independently. We need to come together as community, as change makers, as, so many of the younger people out here I see today, like, these are going to be the opinion makers. And we need to come together to build this community for our older adults and make sure that at every stage of their life, there's no compromise on the way that they live and their quality of life. So, thank you.
Thank you. So now that brings us to the next topic of, this distinction between senior living and assisted living. Because with the number of seniors growing, families often hear these terms, both these terms, and they don't really know how to distinguish between the two. So if all of you could touch upon this aspect, that will be great. Starting with you, sir.
So typically, like we've been talking, assisted living is more, independent living is where you're physically fit, you go in for enhancement of life. You're looking at what are the services, what are the things that can contribute to improving life, and so some of the issues get taken care of. Whereas assisted living is more where the need for medical care increases. And typically you will have a caregiver supporting and there'll be more support given. So that's the clear distinction between as we look at it. Also from a real estate standpoint, independent living will be a far larger scope, whereas assisted living will be more a suite or it's bigger than a hospital, but more a suite kind of a room. You'll not have whereas the independent living will be typically a 2-bedroom or the 3-bedroom depending on the configuration. So that's one.
Very interesting way of describing the distinction. Yes, over to you, sir.
I think he's touched upon most of the points. I
Yes.
think from a investment model,
Right.
independent senior living is still like buying a home, and assisted living is more of a rental model today. So that's the difference.
The key difference.
Key
right.
difference
Yeah.
from a monetary perspective. Yeah.
I think senior living is by choice, right? Lot of, at least in current age, whatever thing that I've seen, the senior who is into 60s decides to move to a certain senior living. It's by choice because they want to go to a community, they want to enjoy life, they don't want to do their mundane work, right? So senior living is by choice when you are independent and you want to enjoy life, right? Assisted living, most of the cases is not by choice, right? Assisted living is typically decided by family and elder together, and it is out of not being able to provide the required care at home.
Right.
When you have a conditions when elderly is alone, the family is not with them, they require a continuous monitoring, continuous assistance.
So it becomes a compulsion.
Kind of, yes. And assisted can be for a short term as well, right? You move to a assisted living, can be for 3 months, 6 months, also can be a long term, but assisted living is a place when you require a continuous care, when you require a continuous assistance by multiple team, you require a doctor, you require a physiotherapist, and cannot be managed at home. I think that's the time when you should look at assisted living as an option.
Right. Okay, over to you.
So I think Mr. Sabharwal already mentioned, it's more of, the difference is that assisted living is very service oriented. It's very high touch, means it requires continuous engagement, it requires continuous amount of care. Whereas, of course, independent living is a little more on the active independent adults. And senior living, assisted living basically takes care of people who have chronic medical conditions, right? And anytime they can move further down the spectrum. And basically taking away that kind of pressure and caregiving burden from the families, that's where assisted living comes in, and it looks at probably liaising between multiple doctors, multiple care teams, making sure the quality of life while looking at the medical care does not deteriorate. So keeping both in balance at that point is what assisted living primarily contributes to.
Right, thank you. Thank you for clarifying this distinction. Let us move on to urban planning frameworks. How can urban planning frameworks better incorporate accessibility, mobility, and safety for seniors as a core design principle and not an afterthought? For this also, I think we could start off with you, and then all of you could give us your insights.
So today, how we plan our cities, the challenge is that we don't, for example, for anybody, forget seniors, but the comprehensive planning, there are 2-3 issues that we have in our cities. Number one, we don't have accessible cities. That means we don't have the basics of, today under the law we are mandated to put some ramps and all that, but it is not integrated, it's an afterthought. It's still an afterthought. So simple things like, if I'm doing a villa, why do I have to have steps and a car park? How comfortable can it be? So what we are trying to do is kind of have a very gradual slope which goes into the house rather than saying these are the steps. And so but from an urban planning standpoint, accessibility for seniors, walking paths, places that, footpaths, we don't have footpaths in most of our cities, and we struggle with that, but there is no comprehensive plan which is done to ensure that there is enough space for people to walk, enough green space for people to get together to be able to support and meet and, what used to be there earlier. And a lot of medical services are slightly on the fringes. So more, in terms of planning, when we are planning newer cities or townships, larger townships, a lot of developers are today doing townships. How all of these can be integrated, where you can, walk to work, you can walk to, a community center, you can walk to a medical center, shopping center. All of this integration is what is missing in our country today. But that is something that, newer cities, as they get developed, newer capitals are now getting developed in some of the states, as well as larger townships. I think both of those are something that can actually help improve the quality of life for everybody.
Right. So as of now, it is only an afterthought, which is going
It's
on.
absolutely afterthought.
Right. Okay. Yes, sir.
I think originally, obviously, there wasn't any framework. We picked up bits and pieces from the American Disabilities Act, where a lot of these things are imbibed in the National Building Code.
Okay.
But when we now collaborated with the government, the new Maharashtra's state housing policy is quite interesting, because it's actually targeting three things. A, it is creating a framework or certain rules within the development control rules to differentiate between what is senior living community and what is regular housing. So you don't have to now build everything on a 30-story tower. There will be certain open spaces that will be kept if it's designated as a senior living community. From a cost perspective, they are going to introduce, and if that really happens, stamp duty at 1,000 rupees, which would be very interesting in terms of cost of buying into that model. And third would be the GST on the housing societies or the homeowners association that is created to maintain these societies. If the GST is slashed down on that, that's 18% on most of the services today. So that would be quite interesting. So this is all in the in the framework of the Maharashtra housing policy. So if that comes, it will be very interesting.
It'll make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer that, but I will say that.
You can tell us your perspective. What
Yeah,
you think?
I feel that we need to sensitize the urban planning teams or architects or municipality. I think a lot of time they are not aware what is really required and how we can make things better for them. I think what is really required is to sensitize them, create awareness. I think that will help. I can't think beyond that, because I think we in individual capacity are doing what we can do when we are building any facilities you are not doing, right? But at a large level, when we are talking about township, when we are talking about city level, I think what is lagging is the sensitization, right? When they do planning, I think that's where the work has to be done. That's what I feel.
Right. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You can also tell us about what do you think about
So
it.
being a neurophysiotherapist, right, this is a topic which is actually very, very close to my heart. I feel as a city, as a country, as a society, it is absolutely not accessible to our older adults, to people with disability. It's absolutely not. We keep talking about community, independence, having a social life. My grandmother can't even go to the temple because the roads are dug up and there's absolutely no way for her to walk. So planning and, keeping in mind inclusivity of all kinds of people, right? Every life is important, and every life's, every person's goals and quality of life is important. You cannot exclude people in planning. Public transport, how the hell do you get into, sorry, don't mind my language, but how do you get into a BST bus? It's such a high step. How do you get into the local train? So all of these things, they need to be kept in mind. How do you cross a road? And this is at a much larger scale, and it's a much more important topic. If you want the older adults to be productive, to not be considered, so as to say, a burden, not be at home and not tell them, "Arey, aap to kahin jate hi nahi ho." But it's not conducive for them to go. So as a community, as a city, a country, we need to together, bring these topics forward. We need to talk about it more. We need to demand accountability. And that's when I'm thinking there will be a change. Because we cannot just accept at this point what is happening. And everyone deserves to have that quality of life, to be able to go down, to take a walk, to go to the market, to the temple, without being fearful of, what if I have a fall, what if some car comes and hit me. So I think it's absolutely very important, and it's a topic that we must speak about. Okay, yeah.
Right, thank you. So with that, we can open for questions from the audience, please. Yes. Yes.
I think one of the most biggest challenges, maybe we have had it in different sort of terminologies, is there is always a terminology that is old age home. And then, of course, there's a terminology that is assisted living. And of course, there's senior living, independent living, nursing care facility, so it gets more and more complicated. And as a geriatrician, of course, we have to end up maybe explaining the same. So what is your challenge here in making sure that the stigma part, which is still there, I mean, it's a huge stigma in even people thinking that moving in, I mean, we have had people who are like caregiver stresses over the roof, and then some society person is asking the question, Are, how can you put your older people in, and then the decision just goes haywire. So I think it's a very real life problem. Your views would be more than welcome.
So what is your question, please?
So the question is how to overcome, how do you help in overcoming the
challenges.
stigma for the
Right.
family, because most of the times the decision is the families.
Yeah. Who would like to?
It isn't a stigma anymore. It was
I'm
maybe
saying
20 years
assisted
back.
living. Independent, maybe not. Assisted living is still a bit of a challenge.
No, I
Stigma
agree.
related to assisted
No,
living.
I completely agree with Dr. Prem. But I think I will say that it has improved in last 10 years. So when we started, the assisted living term was not existing. When I started at Powai, I didn't knew there is something called as an assisted living. We started based on experience of managing elders at home. We felt conditions like dementia is extremely difficult to manage at home. So conditions like dementia, I think families are able to take decisions because they struggle big time to manage them at home, especially in homes like in Mumbai, when you have a smaller homes, when you have family at home, extremely difficult. So I think convincing a family with dementia is not a big issue. But when you have a long-term care, when person requires a long-term care and they are not able to deliver, right? We have seen families, who have one son wants to shift them to a care home, and one son does not want, right? And then there is a lot of debate in the family and they are not able to. And that's where the point that I said, need assessment counseling is required. I think we have seen, at least we have been able to help maybe 50 to 60% of the clients that we talk after counseling, after explaining them, I think they understand that. But you require a lot of counseling. It doesn't happen in one go. I think families take months to take decision if they have to move. Because what we have realized is if husband and wife both are working, managing an elderly, let's say, with cancer at home is extremely difficult, right? If it is a matter of 1 month, family takes leaves and everything manages, but when you require a long term for a year, 2 years, then family starts struggling. And what we explain to them is that even if you're keeping at home, when you require a doctor, when you require a physiotherapist, when you require a nurse, it is extremely difficult to manage. It can be easily managed at center, and we have seen that family relations improve when they move to center. As sir was saying, they come and visit, family comes and visits, and their relations, the care that is provided to at center improves drastically. So I think it's a mindset shift that is happening with the time, but that will only happen with the counseling, because it's not an easy decision for anyone to move their parents from home to an facility. So I think it's with the time that will happen.
Right, thank you. The next question.
Hi, this
right here.
is.
Yes, Shantanu.
The mic was here, so I think they've activated mine.
Okay.
So I was just waiting. Let Shantanu
Okay, and
finish.
then.
So, anyways, I think I'm Manish Panchal, ex-head of Tata Strategy Management Group and founding trustee, along with Prashad, for Ajikar Sevak Foundation.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think Prashad rightly mentioned the challenges, and I am going through the similar things because he knows it very well. one aspiration which I thought it will be nice to express in this forum is that we as a group are aspiring to skill 100,000 caregivers within this country in our lifetime. That's our purpose for Aji Care Sevak Foundation.
Lovely.
And the question is
Right.
to Branch Pays. I'm an aspirational guy and I'm a golfer too. So looking for a golf-related aspirational senior living for myself, and I'll be the first one to book.
We will
When are you doing it, or what's your, if it's already existing?
No, I think, but the conversation is even happening with my friends, right? So obviously my friends know that we are into senior living, and we keep on wondering. I'm a part-time endurance athlete. So we keep on discussing, यार हम लोग हमारे knees चले जाएंगे, तो what do we play, and why don't we all stick together later on? So I think with this conversation at this age also, I think it would be a near reality for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. Right. Yes, Shantanu, please.
Right. First of all, it's so great to see all real estate people in one place because it's very difficult, and you guys have busted a lot of myths about assisted living versus senior living, etc. The worry that I have, and I have thought about this a lot because at Goodfellows we also thought about going into physical spaces, but there are some things that keep holding us back. The subscriber base that we see at Goodfellows, at least 95% of them will not be able to afford any of the senior living or assisted living. And I also understand the barrier you have that we are providing a certain level of infrastructure. I need to see them. I need to provide a certain level of infrastructure and a quality of care, which is something we also want to keep as a benchmark. So my worry is that since a wave of silver economy is coming towards us and the ginormous population that we have, how do we ensure that this does not, by nature of design, end up being a premium service? And when we define premium service today, it's completely different in terms of like a 5-star hotel, a premium service. But this would become a premium service in a demographic like theirs simply by virtue of the fact of all the other panels who have said that pension is 1,000 to 5,000. And these have been well-to-do people, they have well-to-do houses, which is why Goodfellows sort of decided to go into their houses instead of bring them out where they will have to spend money, we will have to spend money. So how do we overcome that so that it doesn't become that 10% of the 100% silver aging population is going to get access to this? And just to make sure question is understood, I'm not saying that it should be free. But how will we take care of such a huge population, even starting 2025 is my question, not to turn into something like Japan, where because of the limited affordability and the limited infrastructure and limited footprint, only people who have a lot of money or credentials or connections can get access to what you're describing today. So since you four are the flag bearers of starting this in India and breaking the taboos, etc., how would you suggest we go about doing this in a way that volume gets covered?
Inclusive, basically.
So, Shantanu, thanks for asking that. I think the only way I feel it can be scalable is by training people, right? We have to create more caregiver workforce, because I totally agree that the best care that we can give to our elders is at home, right? It cannot be at assisted living center. It has to be at home. How do we make that affordable, right? We don't want to build assisted livings, right? It is, I think, the last resort. It's not the first thing. When somebody falls sick, they want to stay at home, right? They don't want to shift it to assisted living. So I think you can make it affordable with things like Goodfellows, with things like creating more caregivers who can provide care at home. And if you want to create an affordable model, I think it's similar to an Cipla palliative care unit. If you know, at Pune, there is a Cipla palliative care unit which is very affordable. Similar to that, we can create geriatric care models where the cost is not that high. That is very much possible, but the scale can be brought only through providing and improving care at home. And that can be only done with things like Goodfellows and things where we train caregivers, where we train family caregivers. So I think we have to give importance and training on caregiving. I think that can bring better quality of care at home.
Anyone of you will also like to answer the question?
So from a real estate model, I think our first project was in Pune area called Pashan. So that was probably 10 kilometers from the city. Today with the connectivity that's increasing even up to Hinjewadi phase 3 where it's about 27 kilometers from the city center, you have the metro today. You can keep on building something which is 15, 20, 25 kilometers from the city center. So it's really, we are downsizing like a 2-bedroom in Karve Road, Kotru area. If people are familiar with Pune demographics, that's about 1.5 crores. If you're building closer to Hinjewadi, the same 2-bedroom goes to 75 lakhs. So thereby you are actually using that 75 lakhs, putting it into some kind of investment and using the other 75 lakhs into buying the house. So I think you will have to go further away. And we're trying a really affordable model today in Athashri, where the 1-bedroom start at 15 lakh rupees. It's being built right now. We have skimmed a lot of the facilities there. We're not doing swimming pools. We are doing smaller, really trying to reduce the maintenance cost later on. Only time will tell once it gets delivered. But
cutting down on the amenities and stuff.
Skimming down. I mean, if I was doing 1,000 square feet ballroom, I'm doing a 500 square feet ballroom. You know, the needs are limited in that sense. Yeah.
Just to add to that, I think senior living, when you look at it, today we have a rental model that we experimented 3 years back. So we charge 35,000 rupees, including for a 1-bedroom house, including the house, the service, the fee, everything. Food is about 10,000 rupees. What this has done, and that was a model, and we are still trying to find the right investor model to come in where people understand that the asset has a rental value, and thereby more and more developers or more and more asset owners come in. So that's the challenge to solve there. But from a senior standpoint, today out of the 40 units that I have there are 22 single women who are on the age of 70 plus. What they love about the model is that even if you own a 2-bedroom house in a city like Bangalore, you will get a 45,000 rupees rental income, just to give it out. Your cost is fully boxed. So you are paying 35,000 rupees plus food, all inclusive of 50,000 rupees. They love the model because in 50,000 rupees you get great quality food, you get excellent housekeeping, you get medical services, you've got people who are looking after you, everything is taken care and the cost is boxed. So I think from an affordability standpoint, one is that model. Secondly, moving to a senior living, just as an example, when you look at it, when you say one person is living at home, you would tend to spend maybe 25,000 rupees just to cook food for one person, because you cannot make, if I just have one bowl of rice, I cannot cook one bowl of rice. So either I will make more and I will throw it away, or try to make it as less. So moving to a community like this actually improves affordability, because food, for example, is one of the biggest. Your housekeeping, your food, the frills and fancies go away. You today need a doctor, you go for a BP checkup, it'll cost you 100 rupees. Whereas if you're living in a community, at least, and there are different models to it, but in our community, if you can go 10 times a day and get your BP checked, and it doesn't cost you anything because it's already covered in the maintenance cost. So I think if you look at it from a affordability standpoint, moving to a community and thereby, and then having a continuing care community where you come in as a younger senior at say 55 and you go through the life cycle, is actually improves and improves the accessibility, because you are able to box the cost. The same, like the example was 1.5 crore. If my house belongs at 1.5 crores and I buy a 70 lakh rupee house, 75,000 lakh rupees gives me say 7.5 lakh rupees of income. That is good enough to live. And plus I will have some other assets somewhere. So actually it becomes moving to a community life is sharing a lot of cost, which independently when you're living, those costs, there's no way to reduce cost. But when you move to a community, you are able to skim the cost to a very large extent. Typically today, most communities which are, I would say, mid to upper middle class, and I'm not talking about old age homes, will have outside of the asset maybe between 20 to 30,000 rupees for a couple to live, which is a very, very affordable number today. So that is something that if more and more people start moving to communities, the economies of scale come in. The larger the community, the better it is.
Right.
So I think that is something that can be addressed.
Yes, ma'am, you would also like to respond to that
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
Thanks for that question, and that's something that's been weighing on our minds since quite some time, right? How do we make it inclusive and affordable? There's also something where we need to include planning and prevention, right? We're trying to speak with a lot of insurance companies where you catch the children and the decision makers a little early, and you say that as a part of the insurance, give this gift to your parents where you pay, how you pay for your health insurance, you pay a certain amount every year, and you build that kind of bucket for their care at a later stage. And I think it's important to plan and prepare earlier, considering that longevity of life is increasing. I also think that the premium services or the premium care should eventually kind of have a Robin Hood effect, and that should be able to, in a similar facility or a single facility, be able to service people with lesser affordable needs. And this has to also happen at a policy level, at a level where there's subsidies, there's, things for not just the premium population. So yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you so much. I am sure there are a lot of questions. You're all waiting to respond to that question as well. However, we really don't have time. I'm so sorry, but please, you all can have your conversations outside of the panel. Thank you. Thank you, panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja, and thank you all your panelists for such an insightful discussion. To express our gratitude, we'd like to call upon stage Yanis Jatar, Chief of Bureau, Mumbai, The Week, to present mementos to our panelists. Thank you, Danis sir, for doing the honors. Thank you once again, our chair and panelists.